Alright, so here we want to do a vector command. Now this is my second time doing this video because there's been an update that surprised me and I needed to check it out a little bit before I talked about it. So for a vector command, I'm going to go through the way I used to tell people to do this, but it turns out we actually don't need one step, but we'll also see why that's a little scary to not need this step. And that step is this very first thing. So a vector command is something that fills in more than one row at a time with a single command. And so what I want to do here is I have 100 numbers 0 to 10, and I would like to count up how many of each there are. So for instance, just here I see there are 2 10s, I see 3 8s, a couple of 7s, a 2, a 1, a couple of 6s, a couple of 3s. So in those 100 numbers, I'd like to know how many zeros, how many 1s, 2s, 3s, and so forth. So there is a command in the spreadsheet to do that. It's called frequency, and so here is the step that I thought we still had to do, but we really don't. But I'd suggest doing it anyway. I'm highlighting everywhere I expect the answer to end up. Okay, so the answer should end up all here because I want frequencies for each of these numbers. And so then I just, without unhighlighting, and again, this first step of the highlighting, it turns out you don't actually have to do it, and we'll look at it at the end of this video, but I suggest doing it, and then you type equals, and my command in this case is the frequency command, and it says I need my data first, so I'm going to come over here. Now I know it goes from A2 to A101, but it's a really good idea to highlight your data, or whatever you're putting into your commands, so you didn't do a typo. So see, it does go A2 to A101 with a colon in between, and then I do a comma, and my classes. Now notice I'm only going down to the 9. That's something about this frequency command. That's not the point of this video. In this case, it's just that's how you do this frequency command, and I close it off. So there's my command, and see, I've highlighted all this where I want it to go. Now here, this next step to enter this, you absolutely do have to do this with a vector command, except possibly in Microsoft new versions of Microsoft 365. Regular Microsoft Excel, I'm pretty sure you still have to use this sequence of commands to get this in, or actually keystrokes is the better way to put it, the sequence of keystrokes. I think Google Sheets, OpenOffice, LibreOffice, all of those you have to do this. The newest versions of Microsoft 365, however, you might be able to just hit enter and it will work. Okay, so here I've got my commands in here, and so now let's look at the keyboard. And to enter a vector command, I actually need 3 keystrokes all at once. Now, I mean, all at once just means at some point they all have to be pushed down. So it takes the control key here, the shift key. Now you've got 2 of each of those, so control and shift are here, but they are also, there's a control and here's a shift, and so you could use either of those. I use my left hand and I hold down the control and the shift, so those are held down, and then with those held down I hit enter, and that is how you have to enter the vector command. And again, we'll take a quick look at not doing that, but Now that won't have done anything here because I wasn't in the program. Now I'm in the program, so without you being able to see me hold down the Control and Shift key, and now I hit enter, and we get all of those filled in. Okay, so the big key here is the Control Shift Enter. So let's look at that. So if I come here and I do this thing again, so equals frequency, and now I'm just going to type in my A2 to A101. It's a little quicker, and B to B11. Again, right, that's B11 right there. Now, notice I didn't highlight, but I still am going to do my Control, my Shift. I've got those, and I hit enter. It filled the whole thing in. Okay, I did not expect that when I first was doing this. That's a new thing. My guess is it might also be in Microsoft Excel and other things like Google Sheets. If it's not, well, then you do have to highlight everything first. Now, why is highlighting everything first a good idea? Well, let's get rid of that. Let's say I had something here that was very important to me, like the number 5. Why is that so important? I don't know. Maybe it's my favorite number. But then I come up here and, well, let's just look at, for instance, so suppose I copy that cell and I go to paste it here. Notice I get a warning. Okay, warn me. Do you really want to do this? Oh no, that's my favorite number. I don't want to lose that. Okay, but if I go up here and I type in the frequency command, and again, every spreadsheet's a little different, so others may give you a warning, but I noticed that I did this. Oops, that's would have been my typo there. B2 to B11. And now I just hit my Control, my Shift, and enter. And notice it wiped out that 5. It didn't ask me. It just went and did it. Okay, so that is a problem. If I don't highlight it first, I may not realize I'm overwriting something that I didn't want to. Now, if I did that, no big deal. Spreadsheets have their undo button and I can get it back, but what if it was big enough and long enough and so forth I didn't notice? That would be a problem. Okay, so so that's one thing, is you don't actually have to highlight maybe now in all spreadsheets. I'm not sure, but it's probably a good idea to do that highlighting anyway first. But you do need the Control, Shift, and Enter. So for instance, suppose I do the whole highlighting thing, and I say frequency, and I enter my data, A2 to A101, and then comma, enter my bins, my classes, B2 to B11. Now, in this spreadsheet, and I think all except Microsoft 365 new versions, if I just hit enter, so here I'm just going to hit enter, notice it didn't fill in the rest of the stuff. So that's a problem. And so you really do need the Control, Shift, and Enter. And so that is entering vector commands. The very important thing is it's a 3-key keystroke. I need to hold down the Control, the Shift, and hit the Enter then in order to enter those commands. Once again, I think Mac is different. And on a Mac, so here was an old thing where I searched for screen capture on a Mac, Excel vector command, or actually, Excel might call it an array command. Let me try that. Array formula. Here we go. Formula. We'll try that. Excel array formula, Mac, and an array formula, and here, you know, Stack Overflow tends to have good things, and then here's answers Microsoft, but here they're talking about, you know, I won't go to the page, but after a bit of digging, it looks like the key combination for entering the array formula has changed from command plus return to control plus shift plus enter. Interesting. Okay, and they mentioned selecting the range, and so forth. So, you know, you can, and here is control plus shift plus enter or return, and so it looks like Mac has changed it to match on a PC, and so that is what you would do on a Mac as well, I guess. Okay, and so those are entering vector formulas, and we'll call that good.